an accent, and I think everybody wants to talk it. Me personally, I think it's a whole lot of caca. I think it's just hype. They probably pulled a language out of the hat, and no, it's the Kiwi slang accent.
No, it was an actual survey. It was an actual survey. Over 1 million people took part throughout the world, obviously. So it was an actual survey.
Oh, yeah. Same survey that said there were 1 million listeners tuned into Full-Time when we know there's only 2 out there.
Oh, no. It was a legitimate survey, bro. Yeah, because we also had that survey where there are actually a million, I think it was 1.5 million listening in.
Okay, well, there you go. That explains a lot.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Anyway, now, yesterday we had, continuing on with rugby, yesterday we had Kevin Mialamu come into the studio yesterday, and he's had a bit of a chat. Of course, he had went down to the Waikanai Surf Club to have a bit of a talk about his career over the years, and it was wonderful having such a nice, humble guy, because he's a real humble sort of guy. Really, Kevin Mialamu, good guy, I would dare say, and he was in town sharing some of his knowledge with us here, and boy, I tell you what, he certainly was one of those good players. Well, stayed in the All Blacks for years and years and years. What do you remember of Kevin Mialamu there, Rino?
Yeah, played early years at many a franchise in Super Rugby. I remember the day in the Chiefs, but predominantly known up there in Auckland at the Blues. And, he's a legend in the Blues franchise over many years, given so much for them, and very proud to represent them, but also just as much in his role as hooker for the All Blacks. I think a key component to be a role model in that position for some of these young ones that have come on through because of his years of experience, and when he got acknowledged for the 100-plus games he's played at that position. That's no easy feat at number 2. But on the field, just a physical player, hard, always went hard in his younger years, and the age kind of caught up with him. But also off the field, you can't get any better guy from a front row because he's just a real people's person, humble as, nice personality about him and everything, and mate, just got a nice ahu about him, and he's always out there giving, and it's good to have him up where you are. And he does books for kids, his passions around his family and children, and yeah, he's an all-round awesome guy on the field and off the field.
First time that he's ever been in our area, so he said yesterday there. What are your thoughts about Kevin Mialamu?
Yeah, pretty much everything Ren said. Just an awesome, down-to-earth Kiwi bloke who has no pretensions, and even on the rugby field, he was a fantastic ambassador and a role model for a lot of kids up and coming. He just had that way about him. He wasn't a dirty player. He just got on with the biz, and he always gave it 150%. And he was so humble in his presentation that a perfect role model for anybody coming through. Who looks to excel in whatever they do, in this case, sport. And he wasn't a bad rugby player to boot as well. He's one of those. I think we always talk about it on the odd occasion about the ones who get their hands dirty in the rucks and the scrums and more the powerhouses, the ones who set up the plays for the glory boy backs and the like. He was one of those nuggety kind of impact players who just got on with the job, and he made everybody else look good.
And when you talk longevity too, Reno? He was, he's been there for a very long time. I think he was still 36 when he was playing for the All Blacks, if I remember correctly. Reno? So, longevity as well too. 100 and something tests.
Definitely, Yeah, you're right, mate. You're right, totally right. There are 132 games, for the ABs from 2002 to 2015, and his career when you think of where he came from, and another one of the prodigies from out of Tokoro, bro. They'll be proud of him, and that town always produces good products when it comes to a variety of sports. I don't know what it is down there, whether it's in the timber or something, but he acknowledges that, the Mialamu whānau down there. But yeah, he's just a true champion. And I think people just look up to him as one of those guys never really did anything like Izzy Falou, anything stupid like that. Just played the game, played with heart, passion, and off the field exactly the same. The persona of the guy on the field was exactly the same off the field. So good on him, and that's a coup, mate. I bet you he'll be back in your area again. He's got a feel for it and a love for it. He'll be back.
Especially if he loves Skinners, I suppose, Or he'll definitely be back this way. Well, one of the great things with him, you talked about him being so humble as well there. He just had a bit of a surprise visit at Makaraka School yesterday, and as well as that, he was down there at Waikirikiri Park with the junior rugby, which just kicked off this morning. So, a great guy, Ra?
Oh, yeah. On and off the field, Keith, there's very few players who don't look for the limelight, but, trust upon them, and, that they're not in it for themselves. They like to sort of, do well and pass it on to the next generations, and Kiwi's no exception. He knows where the future is, and even the nature of our game, and having up-and-coming players who play hard but also, play fair and just sort of appreciate what they have. He's one of the great ones, one of those unsung heroes that, he may not have scored a million tries or, won so many awards, but you knew he was there, and he's a legacy player. Good guy to talk to too, real quiet, undertones. You wouldn't think he was an AB and, former Auckland great.
Absolutely. So also concerning rugby today, down at Rugby Park, they've got what's called Town and Country, which is kind of it's a new concept, certainly around here. They've got the three premier teams from town that's Pirates, GMC, OBM and High School Old Boys. They've formed a team, obviously the best of the best from those three teams. They've formed a team called the Town Team, obviously. They go up against YMP, Ngarapa and Waikahu, who obviously form the Country Team. Now, that game is going to be played down at Rugby Park. Quite an interesting concept, I think, thought up by the new coach, Tom Cairns, for Poverty Bay, eh? What do you reckon, Ra?
Oh, yeah, it kind of reminds me of the days when I played junior rugby. We used to have Town South, Town North, Country South. And
they still
East
play
Coast,
that
North,
today.
Yeah. It was the same
McDonald's.
Sort of, it used to be called the Trust Bank Tournament.
Yeah, the McDonald's tournament.
Up in Reensway, I think it was called Roller Mills, up around Waikato around there or something. But, the concept's not new, but they've just sort of transferred it or thinged it onto the adult rugby.
Senior games, yeah.
Which is interesting, Keith, because see how it sort of pans out and if it catches on. But, it's that sort of trying to, maybe just make rugby more kind of appealing, interesting, and to get more backsides on seats locally to go and watch the games. I hope it goes well.
I do too, actually. I do too. Of course, it's down there at Rugby Park. What's interesting, though, is apparently the grandstand is pretty much out of bounds. Nobody can sit up in the grandstand. I think it's kind of been condemned, because of safety reasons with the roof and also the earthquake. Obviously they had a report and needs to be earthquake proofed as well. So, which is a bit of a shame, really. What do they call it? The John Hakel stand is what it's called, eh?
The Uncle John Hakel stand. So, no, it sounds like needs a bit of work, and we need to keep up the times in terms of our structures around the place. It's all for health and safety. But yeah, interesting to hear.
Let's go to the NRL now, Reno. The first game, Rabbitohs up against the Broncos. Pretty much predicted that the Rabbitohs would, cakewalk over the Broncos, eh?
Yeah, always predicted like that, especially when it was Greg Inglis' farewell game, when he came out to the crowd and, waved to them all at ANZ, everything like that. And it was huge. And when the Rabbitohs players are scoring their tries, they're doing the old Goanna walk just in recognition of him. Very emotional for GI. Been a great player in history with the team over the years gone by, the Storm, the Rabbits, the Broncos, the Queenslanders, the Kangaroos, the Indigenous as well. It was a huge occasion for him, but also for the Broncos, because the fullback also played his 300th game for the Broncos, but obviously not to celebrate in the way they wanted to for him. So, yeah, no, it was a huge game. Darius Boyd was the guy playing 300, but no, it's one of those games, mate, and this Rabbitohs played well. The first time I've seen Wayne Bennett smile and have a laugh.
Indeed.
And he didn't really reflect on the swapping of the coaches as well, because that's the big game that everyone had talked about for the start of the season. At the start of the season, with the two coaches switching over, contracts and everything. The young buck up there, Brizzy, Seabold, and the old-timer who's a master going against him, and he didn't really even go nowhere near that. The results stood as it was, and he was just happy with the team, and move on to next week. The old bugger, never sees much, but he had a smile. That was the main thing.
Who was the number 6 for the Rabbitohs? Do you remember? Walker?
Oh, yeah. Cody Walker.
Yes. Well, it was great because, boy, I tell you what, those first 2 tries that the Rabbitohs got were freakish, I think, anyway. And, of course, it was great to see him do that goanna sort of walk, when he scored those 2 tries.
Cody Walker's playing extremely well at number 6. Every week he turns out, week in and week out. He's a class act, this kid. He's not a kid, actually. He's been around in the game for a while. He's at the tail end of the late 20s here. And no one kind of working out, well, where's he been? Where's this form come from? He's had his ups and downs in his career, and he's just playing really good. There are so many good sixes currently in the NRL. It's going to be hard, especially Origin coming up. That's going to be making it interesting to see which way to go with the Blues. The Maroons, we know that's going to be muster. That's a foregone conclusion at number 6. But, it's interesting to see where they go with Luke Keary or with Cody Walker. There's also others running around. But, this kid, man, this fella's just playing out of it. It's just some of the kicks they do. Unreal.
I know. Unreal, right? Oh, just freakish. Right, the Cowboys.
Entertaining.
Very. Backyard.
And I think to myself,
backyard. It's like backyard footy, Anything could happen, all over the place it seems. But I tell you what, looks really cool, man. The Cowboys Titans turned out that the Cowboys, really came on with it. Rino?
Yeah, Jason Damalolo returned after week 2 it was with their major injury. He was going to come back last week, but didn't want to come up too early. And man, this guy put on a huge performance, a vintage performance, as some would say. Scored himself a meat pie, and the Cowboys come away with the win. It just tells you how one man can make a difference in the team. People talk about this. Look, they've had Johnny Thurston of the Cowboys run that whole team. They've got Matt Scott. They've got so many great players there. But Big Jason come back and turned the boys up, and the Gold Coast had nothing for them in the end. The Cowboys had a good win.
Yeah, and, a bit of a shocker for our mate JT, of course. The Storm got beaten by the Sharks last night, eh?
Yeah, that's why you can't get through to him, mate. That's why he's not answering his phone. All of a sudden, he's not on the show. I'm going, hey, where's this fella's gone? Oh, bro, just your Storm. But, this was a big clash. Watched the build-up to this as well. There are so many key players in this going head-to-head. The rivalry between the two clubs is huge. They've had a real ding-dong battle over the years gone by, even big punch-ups. The tension between the two clubs, they kind of hate each other. And I wish JT was here, actually, because he knows what it's like with the two clubs. He's always called Paul Gallen one of the biggest grubs of the game. We're down in the Shire in New South Wales. They've called Cameron Smith another big grub of the game as well. So there was that real intensity. And the Sharks have actually had the better in history over the Storm early in the NRL competition. And for some, not a surprise, actually. The Sharks snuck home there. Look, they've done it without some of the key players as well. Sean Johnson gone for a little while, and a few other players. A couple of young guys came through the reserve grade, really played out of their skin. And 2 points is 2 points, and they win 2018. The main prop right at the start in the first hit-up, he busted his whole shoulder. But he continued to play. His shoulder was smashed, but he continued to play on through. I was reading the update this morning, and his shoulder was gone. it was gone, his arm would drop, but he persevered with it and started continuing on. And yeah, just one of those things. I personally think it's dumb sometimes